Rocky Balboa, an underdog boxer from Philadelphia, was no stranger to struggle. Life had dealt him blow after blow, leaving him with little to show for it. He worked as a debt collector for a loan shark, struggling to make ends meet. His true passion, however, lay in boxing. He had been training for years, but his chances to make it big seemed like a distant dream. Most people saw him as nothing more than a local fighter with a punch. But Rocky had something more dash heart in the gritty streets of Philadelphia. Where hope often felt like a luxury, Rocky was just another face in the crowd. But to those who truly knew him, he was a man with a quiet determination, a man who never gave up. His humble apartment and his relationship with Adrian, a shy pet store clerk, reflected the simplicity of his life. They were two souls who found solace in each other's presence, away from the chaos of the world. Rocky, despite his rough exterior, had a soft heart, and Adrian became his anchor. The one person who believed in him when the world seemed indifferent. One day, Rocky's life took an unexpected turn. Apollo Creed, the world heavyweight champion, was preparing for a big fight, but his opponent pulled out at the last minute. Instead of choosing a new contender from the top ranks, Apollo decided to give a local boxer a shot at the title. It was a publicity-stunted chance to prove that even the underdog could get a shot. When Apollo's camp stumbled upon Rocky's name, they saw an opportunity for an easy victory. A quick and flashy win to boost the champion's image. Rocky, who had been living a life of quiet desperation, was suddenly thrust into the spotlight. The match would be held on New Year's Day. While everyone around him thought this was a far-fetched dream, Rocky was determined to prove them wrong. For the first time in his life, he saw a way out of the shadows, a chance to fight for. The title wasn't just about boxing. It was about self-respect. He wasn't going to be just another forgotten face in the crowd. He trained like never before, pushing his body to its limits. He wasn't a polished fighter like the champions of the world, but he was relentless. Rocky's training was grueling, often leaving him bruised and battered, but he never stopped. His workouts, his determination, his will to keep going despite the pain, all of it became a testament to his character. With every punch, every drop of sweat, and every ounce of effort, he was carving out his legacy. His bond with Adrian grew stronger throughout the process. She, too, believed in him now, not just as a fighter, but as the man he could become. Their love, tender and sincere, was a refuge from the world's harshness. She was the one who supported him, reminded him of his worth, and helped him see that he was more than just the sum of his struggles. As the fight day approached, Rocky's nerves began to build. He wasn't just fighting for the title, he was fighting for everything he had ever wanted, for his respect, and for a future that seemed so far out of reach just a few months ago. The night before the fight, Adrian, who had always stood by his side, whispered words of encouragement. She told him that no matter what happened, she loved him, and that was enough. But Rocky wasn't sure if it was enough. He wasn't fighting for love, he was fighting for pride. He had to prove to himself that he could go the distance, so that he could stand tall in the ring, no matter who was on the other side. The bell rang. The crowd roared. Apollo Creed, the champion, stood across from him, the look of confidence in his eyes evident. Rocky, however, was not intimidated. He wasn't the polished, trained fighter that Apollo had faced before. He was raw, but his heart was stronger than anything Apollo had ever faced in the ring. The first few rounds were a blur, Rocky taking hits, Apollo looking surprised by the grit in the underdog's punches. Rocky wasn't winning, but he wasn't backing down either. Each time Apollo thought he had him, Rocky got back up. Each time stronger than the last. Round after round, the fight wore on. Apollo began to realize that Rocky wasn't just a punching bag. He was a fighter. And as the final bell rang, both fighters were exhausted, battered, and bruised. Apollo had won, but not in the way anyone had expected. The crowd erupted, not in celebration for the champion, but in admiration for the man who had gone the distance, the man who had refused to quit. Rocky had done what no one thought was possible. He had stood toe-to-toe with the greatest and had earned his place in the ring. After the fight, as Rocky staggered out of the ring, all he could think about was Adrian. He didn't care about the belt, the fame, or the money. He had proven to himself that he was more than just a neighborhood boxer. He had shown the world that even an underdog could fight for something greater than just a win. He could fight for his dignity, his love, and his future. As the credits rolled, Rocky stood in the middle of the ring, calling out for Adrian, his voice hoarse but filled with hope. The story of Rocky wasn't just about a fighter, it was about a man's fight for his identity, for something more than just survival. It was a story of perseverance, love, and the strength to stand up when life knocks you down. And in that moment, it wasn't about winning or losing. It was about the journey, the heart, and the fight that never ends.